Hello, everyone, and welcome to YouTube Mile Builders Thursday Night General Hangout. Thursday Hangouts are for the general discussion on mile railroading that we all can set a topic to discuss for the night. My name is Johnny Reb from Southeast Rails. Thursday's Hangouts are the proud sponsor of the YouTube Mile Builders, the EMAG, YouTube Mile Builders live show, and the Tuesday night presentations. You can go to YouTubeMileBuilders.com, get scheduled for the Tuesday night presentations, which has gone to a new format of every other week. We've had one this week, so next week they got the week off. They got a very generous boss. Wish he'd give me a week off. Just kidding. But you can also get the schedule for the e-magazine, which just came out. JD and his teams did another fantastic job again. And also get scheduled for the YouTube Mile Builders live show. I want to say thanks for joining tonight's show. And with that said, let me stop screen share. Get my ugly mug back on the screen. Alrighty. For the viewers out there, we got the Q&A going. So if you have any questions, type them in down at the bottom, and we'll see what we can do to get them answered for you. And we also appreciate you giving us any kind of topics that you like to hear about, either on Tuesday or Thursday night, or the live show even. You can send emails to Bill Dude and let them know, or post it up on the YouTubeMileBuilders.com page. We'll look at that and see what we can do to get those subjects online, get them going. Alrighty, got a question for everybody. We all look at the videos that are, for our scales, N scale, Z scale, HO, Lionel, and occasionally get a little tired, I think, looking at them. I mean, I'll watch an awful lot myself. Fella Matthew, hope I pronounced his last name right, Atz, made a post on the communities page for a link to a G-scale, building a garden railroad in the backyard. And it's a little over 5 hours of video. I went and watched it this week. Took me a few nights watching a few of them here and there. It's really interesting. So if y'all like to take a little sidetrack, what do y'all like to watch? Okay, not everybody jump at that one all at one time.
I really enjoy James Wright videos and also fish plate films.
Yeah. You ever watch anything other than what's in the scale? You ever
Absolutely.
do a G scale or Lionel scale?
Somewhat.
You ever watch any of them for G or Lionel or?
Lionel.
Yeah, that's your old one. Free rail.
Anybody else?
What about you, Jason?
I look at other ones like O gauge and G scale stuff. It depends on when I get tired of looking at my scale and see what other techniques there is for the bigger or smaller scales, how they're doing it and all that. But more, I just looking for prototypes and all that, how they're looking and all that, and how operations are.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Phil.
Oh, I watch. watch Train Master TV, and I watch stuff on DCC here a lot lately because I'm trying to decide whether or not I'm gonna drop the money and go for the DCC or not. Now that I'm getting close to actually running. I also watch a lot of just whatever people that I follow here on the channel, their videos that they're putting up. I not really scale specific when I watch whatever I'm watching. I'm looking more for information than I am, let's say, scale wise of anything.
Yeah, I just, I mean, this one here, I clicked on a link. Well, it was a fellow named Mark. He's over in England.
Yeah.
Because they do a lot of G-scale backyard railroads.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a while since I watched something that wasn't HO, so
Right.
it just kind of grabbed my attention. Yeah, he was showing other layouts there around England in his area he's visiting on different parts he was doing. There's pretty nice looking layouts over there.
Yeah. I watch a show that's on PBS on Saturdays here. It's called Tracks Ahead.
Good show.
It's an older show that's been on for many seasons, and I think it's just a half-hour show, and it usually consists of excursion type rides all over the world, and then they travel to people's home layouts, talk briefly about them, and look forward to seeing that. And when I'm tired of the whole train thing, then I just hop on YouTube and watch whatever happens to come up. You know.
Yeah. Mr. Jim. What's that, Dwight?
Well, I wanted to know what he was talking about Tracks Ahead. How about the one where the British guy goes to all over Europe, especially Germany? He has his 1920 guidebook, and he goes all over Europe and Germany by the 1920 guidebook or 30 guidebook, and he goes back to all these old train stations and looks at their glory years.
Yeah.
The British show.
That'd be interesting.
Excellent show.
Yeah.
And I like Vinny too, Johnny.
Yeah, who doesn't like Vinny?
Vinny's fun.
Yeah. Yeah, Vinny's a card. Now that he's got a girlfriend,
Yes.
he's going to get her on YouTube too, so yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Jim, any comments?
No, I stay pretty specific to my scale. The only time I watch something that's out of the scale that I do is if I'm watching Vinny or it used to be Troy. But yeah, I stay pretty specific to my scale. I've got 2 scales and I've got a third planning in the plans now, so I guess I could possibly be 3 different scales soon.
Yeah. Hey, you need to visit the dark side every now and then.
I'm not very scale specific in what I watch. I mean, I have to admit I don't watch a lot of Lionel or 3-rail stuff. Some, but not a lot. But I watch a lot of O-scale, especially O-scale 2-rail. I have a real fascination with O-scale 2-rail. And I watch a lot of HO. I watch a lot of that stuff for inspiration, and I love the instructional stuff. I mean, you know, Joey Ricard's videos, and you know, there's a few guys out there like that. Kathy Millett from Britain, her videos. She just come out with another one last night.
Oh, did she?
Yeah.
Right.
what I would call a cattail. They call it something else, some kind of bushweed or something like that. And but I would call it a cattail. I mean, this is, southeastern United States. It's a cattail. And
Yeah, down here we call it bushy tail.
bushy tail. Well, then that's not as far removed from what she called it. All right, we ain't talking about the same thing, are we?
Sherry's probably sitting there going, "Oh, geez, man, he had to say that."
You're going to have to show a picture of your cattail, because I think what you're talking about, cattails, we call them foxtails out here.
Hey,
What I'm
Sherry, how
talking
you doing?
about is a weed that looks like it has a corn dog on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then the birds will come by and start pecking at it and eat it, and it's got like fur or like feathers, almost like feathers on the inside of it.
Absolutely,
not.
kind of like milkweed has.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's the seed.
Yep, those are called foxtails here.
We call them cattails.
Cattails here, they do call something here cattails, but it's something else.
They're brown.
No, it's a weed. It's a weed that would get into a cat's fur and until it would fester.
Huh.
With cattails, foxtails, whatever, they're edible.
No way.
Yeah, look it up on the net.
Cattails are edible.
That's a nasty looking plant.
Just thought I'd throw that
I mean, it
out.
looks good on a model, and I definitely watched it with interest because it's something that I definitely want to model on mine. And Kathy Millett, just done a video recently, actually 2 videos in a row on different ways to do pond lilies. Or I think, again, she called it something else, but pond lily. I mean, she has fascinating videos. A lot of them focused on water. She has a fascination with water effects, and I think a lot of people struggle with that, so I point a lot of people to her videos. And so I really like the instructional ones, but they don't come fast enough.
Luke Town, he does some really cool exotic stuff too. He does or foxtails too, and
it does it a very good, very interesting way. Actually, everything he does, I have to say, is an interesting, creative way of doing it. He thinks.
Yeah.
I got to give him. He might be one of the best, and his video production is second to none. I mean, he does as good a video quality and production. I mean, I love Trainmasters TV. I mean, I'm not canceling that subscription for nothing. That'd be my last subscription that went. I mean, Netflix would go, Bottle Railroad, or you name it, would go before Trainmasters TV goes. But and their video quality is incredible. And there's a few modelers on YouTube that do as good, like Luke Towan. And Joey Ricards are real good too, but Luke Towan might be the best.
Hey, the Iron Ranger's layout looks good there. Did you look at it?
Who's?
The Iron Ranger, Pacific North.
Huh, you got it.
Troy.
Oh, hey guys.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Troy.
You know their nickname is called the Iron Rangers.
No.
Yeah, that's us.
Yep.
Here.
Hi, Troy.
How's it going?
Haven't never this live video saw you before, so.
You didn't miss nothing.
Well, we were saying last night. We hope you come down to the train show in there's the Civic Center down in St. Paul in February here.
I'm not going to hold my breath as much as I'd like to.
That's a long drive for you.
It's about 3.5, maybe 4 hours.
Yep.
Well, I'll tell you what, Troy just came in, Sherry just came in. Repeat the question, let you guys give your thoughts on it too. I mean, we all have our scales that we're working in, but when you watch your videos, do you ever like to watch other videos? Like for Sherry, she's doing 3 rail. You ever watch any HO or N scale or anything like that, Troy?
Most definitely.
You know, Sherry, you want to take it first?
Sure. Yeah, I've watched all of them actually, because it's not really so much the scale; it's what they're doing with the scale, as far as the track work and the landscaping and building, and whether they're running, like they're set up to operate, or they're just set up to run trains. And they've got everything on there from like the toy train table, similar to what mine's probably going to wind up being, to the prototypical like Andy and a couple of the other guys are doing, and Troy does. So they're all cool to watch because you get lots of neat ideas from them.
What do you think about garden?
I miss that.
What do you think about the garden railroads?
Oh, I would love to have one. Because I'm into all the landscaping and the plants and everything. So yeah, that would be
Yeah, the best
that would
of
be
two
cool. Because
worlds.
that, you know, then you don't got to worry about how much space you have. Because I got enough space here, I could do that easily.
Yeah, you got the best of two worlds there for you then.
Yeah, just get a snowplow for the winter and run it in the summer without the snowplow.
I saw a video where a guy had a lot of snow in his. He stuck a snowplow on there.
Yeah.
Quite honestly, as deep as it was, I didn't think that snowplow would really, gone through, but it just kept eating away at it.
Oh yeah, I've seen a couple of them too. It's just amazing to watch the train go through that snow.
Yeah, really.
I think Bill Graham's going to need it for the next couple of nights, right, Bill? Signed in here. He'll give up the warm climates for the snow-driven New York.
Yeah. Now Bill hadn't come in. What about you, Troy?
I watch all the videos. There's nothing specific that I don't watch. It doesn't matter what scale it is. I don't even search anymore for videos. I just go through with what's on my playlist and just go through all the suggested, because a lot of the times my suggestions are videos that I haven't seen before, and I think that it's very interesting to watch all of them. Really, nothing in specific.
Yeah. All right, I brought the first topic up. Anybody else, or Dave? You didn't answer that question, did you?
No, I did not.
Well, go ahead.
Well, the biggest problem with me is I haven't watched hardly any videos to speak of for a while, and I have a lot of catching up to do. I know that because whenever I go to my YouTube channel, there's each one is maxed out on videos, so I've got a lot of catching up to do. But
I mean,
you know,
in the past.
I don't have no specific scale, because you can always look at an N scale, and if you're HO, you could always go, you know, that would be a really cool scene in my layout, you know, or that's a really cool idea. You could do that in HO scale. I mean, it doesn't matter what scale, you know, you could always do what you need to do. And I mean, look at Troy. I mean, he was in scale, and now he still thinks he's in scale, but he's actually HO scale.
It is HO.
The thing about it is this is what I say. He's got a big heart, big body, but just short and small legs.
I'm kind of stunted at the growth, man.
Yeah. But no, you know, you guys are talking about garden railroad, and I would love to put a garden railroad, and I've been actually pricing it. And the last train show I went to in Spokane, Washington, was I think it was in October, and there was a guy there that had 2 G scales, and I looked them up while I was there. They were both. He had 3 of them. All of them were right around $1,100 to $1,200 for the price for them, and he was selling them for, one was $250 and one was $300, and they were like brand new, never been ran. They still hadn't, the handrails had not been put on or any of that, and so.
They had the metal track or the plastic track?
Well, no, these would be metal track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to do an outdoor I'm gonna wait till I build a new house in a few years, but I'm gonna do like what a lot of the British do and do O-scale 2-rail outdoor.
Oh,
And the cost is a lot lower, takes a lot less space. It's also something that you can build modules in, and I'm going to run it into the house in one section so that I can bring the equipment in. The only disadvantage to do an O-scale outdoor is that the equipment is not naturally weatherproof. But if I had G-scale paid $1,000 or even $300 for a locomotive, I'm not leaving it outside. I would bring it.
oh yeah. But
So,
the nice thing, my house, my windows in the front, my front yard where I would put it, are ground level.
uh-huh.
So I wouldn't have to do no adjustments or whatever to bring it right on into the house.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
fine.
and then I could close the window right behind it after I bring them into the basement. You know.
When I build the new house, I'm actually designing with that in mind so that I can actually design an entry and exit into the house and have a small seam just down one wall of the family room that is I already have the track plan for the seam, and it'll be a couple modules in OSCO 2 rail or Proto 48 specifically,
Yeah.
and then run outside, and that's perfect for O-scale where you can run. The problem with O-scale is you can't have unless you're Lionel, but in O-scale 2 rail you can't have enough space to actually have a decent sized train and actually stretch it out and run it and enjoy a big long train. But if you do it outside, you can.
Could have a doggy door.
There's you guys are talking about snow. There's a guy in Seattle, Washington. He's actually up around Snoqualmie Pass, and he's got a G scale in his yard, and he plows snow. He's got a couple videos on YouTube. I couldn't tell you what the address or anything. I'd have to look through all of because I did subscribe to him. But anyways, he's got a snowblower that he made that he pushes with, and this snowblower, it cleans the track. I mean, there's been a couple of videos that he's got on there that it looks like it's a good 8 inches or more deep, and this snowblower is going through there like nothing else, like it's not even there, just
Oh yeah.
blowing that snow.
I think I've seen that when he used big electric electric motor on that thing.
Yeah, I think so, something
Yeah.
like that. It
Yeah.
was all battery operated and stuff like that, I imagine.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
That was
That's the
very
only way to
impressive.
go outdoor, in my opinion, is to go battery.
oh
And
yeah, that's the only way to go.
If I
Yeah.
was O-scale 2 rail, indoor or outdoor or larger, I would go battery. Heck, I want to go battery in HO scale, but I do the O-scale 2 rail, I'm going battery, no questions.
Hey Paul, how you doing?
I don't know. If I was going to do an outdoors one, I think I'd go with live steam.
Well, yeah, but you don't want everything live steam. You don't want to just go out, grill a couple burgers, and run a train and have to fire it up. But it would be awesome to have a live steam so that you could do that too. I get the appeal of live steam.
Well, that's the thing with the Garden Railroads. You can do live steam on there if you want to.
Yeah, you could have an engine or two, a few engines of both styles, and you could go out if you wanted to stoke a box and ramp up a fire. You could do that. But if you were going to go out and grill some burgers and you wanted to let a train stretch out for a few minutes while you did that, you could turn a couple F units on and let them cruise around.
Yeah.
Hello, John. Hi, everybody.
How you doing, Paul?
Growing
We're
a
talking about
little late. What's that?
we're just talking about what kind of videos you like to watch when you watch something other than the scale that you're in.
Oh, gee, I don't know. Well, I'm an HO, but I don't mind watching N scale, and once in a while, I guess outdoor layouts, whatever the scale that is.
G scale, yeah.
Yeah, G.
Most of them are G
Okay.
scale.
There's a few scales outdoor. Number 1, F, G. The problem with outdoor is that it's so complicated in scales.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
I
do you
like them all.
Burlington route? I seen your avatar is Burlington route, which is a beautiful railroad to model. I totally get the fascination with that. So what are you modeling? Where at geographically? What era?
I'm doing. It's a
what is it, proto freelance or whatever
Yeah, yeah.
of CB&Q back in late summer, early fall of 1969.
Not bad.
I just made up. It's somewhere between Chicago and Galesburg, out in the country.
Uh-huh.
And my part I made up was a fictional branch line. I call it the Illinois River branch. It's all in my head.
No, good. A lot of people do that, and I used to too. I used to model the Louisville and Nashville Railroad, but I modeled a branch line, a fictitious branch line, just like you did. That way, I could buy the equipment that I loved from the railroad I loved, but I didn't have to try to recreate something that was in the real world, and I knew I'd be too picky. Now, this time around, I'm prototype modeling as much as you can. Everything's proto freelance a little bit because you can't match the prototype, but now I'm modeling a real geographic place and trying to match pictures. But I'll tell you that it's fun, but it has a very unique set of challenges when you're trying to actually model it. Proto freelancing is probably the best way for most people.
Yeah, I did it in the old house. Oh, I get nothing. I did that in the old house, and when I moved into this house now, 17 years ago, I thought about, because I got a lot more room now, I've got the entire basement if I want it, but I thought about what I could model, and I said, well, the old idea seemed to work pretty well. I can just enlarge it. So,
How big's your layout?
well, I've got a master plan I drew, which takes up the basement about 22 by 38.
That's a very nice size.
Yeah, but now we're getting close to. I've been here almost 18 years, which means I'm 18 years older. It's like, oh my Lord, how am I going to do all this? Because I work pretty slow.
I do too, and that is a big layout, and I'm building mine in pieces for that reason, so that I can get some level of completion as I go along. And right now I'm building a fairly small 15 by 15 layout in pieces, but the grand plan is the new house that I'm building in a few years that I got plans for has a 46 by 70 foot basement in it. But so it's going to be a little tough to saturate that, and it's going to take a lot of years. Hopefully I still got a lot of years. I'm just 37, so hopefully I got a few years to put into it. But I'm building it in steps. I'm not in a hurry. I'm very picky, and I do very meticulous, kind of fine scale work. And my only curiosity is how to scale that fine scale work up to where I can build a layout of any substantive size, because it's really, really hard. I hand lay all my track with all the detail parts. There's about 500 detail parts in a 3 feet section of track. That gets really hard to build a 70-foot layout. In that, I'm still figuring that out.
Well, I'm in my 60s now, so and my house is 150 years old, so I have to basically put up a ceiling, and before you can do that, you got to deal with ductworks, maybe move some pipe and redo some electrical. And I got some disability challenges, so I've got a friend that helps me, but it's just going real slow. So what I decided to do is I took a part of the basement that was about 10 by 20 feet, and it was real easy to put a ceiling up there. And on the master plan, it's the city area. So that's what I'm actually building right now, just starting in a smaller space. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of that building approach. Most people tend to say, design your railroad, build all the benchwork, lay all the track, run all the wire, whatever. And I am absolutely adverse to that philosophy. I much prefer the way you're doing it. Build a small section of a railroad, bring it to a level of completion that you're enjoying and you can enjoy, and then expand. And it lets you get a layout that you can enjoy with some level of completion. No layout's ever really complete. I get that philosophy, but some level of completion is nice, because most of the layouts I had in years past, pretty much every layout I ever had was plywood Pacific, and I don't want that. So I'm trying to beat my human tendency to to end up with just a big plywood layout running trains, and I wanted scenery. So I'm building sections like you are.
Right. And if this ends up being all it ever is, I got a big switching layout because it's in the city.
And you're getting to enjoy it. Not, you're not spending a decade building a layout that you're not, or you spent 2 decades, better part of 2 decades, but you're enjoying a layout while you dream about the next step.
I seem to work in spurts. I'll work for weeks and then I haven't done anything in a few months now.
Yeah, I kind of get in a zone, and it's not even, a lot of people do that and they work through the winter, model through the winter, and play through the summer or something.
Yeah.
And I really don't do that. A lot of times the cold makes me not want to do stuff. I kind of work in spurts. I kind of get in the zone, working on something, and get excited about it, and come home every day and kind of chug along at it. And then for a while, I kind of get frustrated with it, and I come home and I stare at it a little bit, and I lay down and watch TV.
I want to interrupt here. I want to interrupt just for a second. Those of you on the panel, if you want to, if you go to the left of the screen, you can click on the Q&A icon. That way you can see the questions posted by the viewers. And make an apology to the viewers. I'm sitting there and I forgot to turn the Q&A on my screen. So I got it turned on now. So post your comments or questions. And
yeah,
definitely get them to the panel here. Big Bill said that the storm's going to pass just north of him, so evidently he won't be getting much out of that one. But he's also put up here a question for, I guess, for all of us. What is the most challenging part of putting your railroad together? Time, tools, material?
Oh boy, do I have an answer for that one.
Well, you go right ahead, Phil.
Okay. He asked about time, tools, and material. The answer to his question is money.
Thank you.
Yeah.
With the money, you can buy all the materials you need, all the tools you need. Being on disability and retired, I have all the time in the world to work on my railroad. So money is the most challenging aspect of being in this hobby.
Somebody once told me, a smart man once told me, if money is your biggest problem, then you're a very, very lucky man, because it's a whole lot better than having health or time or whatever. And I've got ideas about how to compete with the money thing. There are ways to hand lay your track or hand build your track with fast tracks, or there's a lot of ways you can trick the money problem.
Yeah. Dwight, what was that comment?
May I say, and I'd vote for Big Bill for mayor, by the way. May I say, Bill, all those items, but especially experience and practice. Watching you fellows put together, watching Troy doing his layout here, I need the experience. I need the mistakes of other people and my mistakes to learn how to do it better. I've been watching Andy do his. It's made me tear things apart. Last night, Johnny caught me in the middle of soldering, and I didn't know he had a show, and I nearly left my soldering iron all night. But I'm tearing apart wiring I didn't like, because Andy got me going to do it better, not just slap it together.
I'm really picky about probably everything I do, and I do things like the wiring. I don't know why I even thought to do a video on it, but I do it uniquely, and it's very time consuming, and a lot of people complain about my method. They like the wiring visible so they can maintain it, and I absolutely am adverse to that. I don't like seeing the things that make a model railroad a model. I don't like seeing those things. Hide that. Everything you can do to hide it. Now, I do things to get around the problem, like I showed in my video, where I put the wires at a certain place back, so if I ever do have to dig them out of the ballast, I can do that. But I appreciate the go forward. That encourages me to do some more videos on the crazy ways I do things.
Yeah, Sherry, what's your opinion on that?
Kind of in agreement with the money thing. Unfortunately, I'm doing O scale, which is even worse, because you walk in and just pick up a piece of track, and it's $6, $7. Get a couple pieces of track. And you know, and they're in with the money, then you got to have the tools, because you got to be able to build the table and get your track laid, and you know, whatever little, you know, you don't think about it. You screwdriver and pliers and hammers and screws and nails and cork, adhesives.
Paints
It all adds
and
up.
glues. Yeah, I got more money in paints and glues and stains, and I mean, I got stacks of rattle cans and acrylics and oils and stains and 12 different kinds of glue, and I spent more money on tools than model stuff.
Yeah. Jason,
Oh yeah.
get an opinion off of you there? I guess Jason stepped out. How about you, Jim?
Yeah, I'm in with Philip crowd money.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
spent too much.
Yeah. Don't we all?
I get money being a problem. It costs money. It's an expensive hobby, but you can mitigate some of the money. Not all of it. I
Yeah.
like the Prof's next comment that you're about to bring up. I genuinely I like what he has to say, but I like
Yeah. Professor, good afternoon, and thank you for coming in. Professor's comment, most challenge part, being able to see the vision, but not being able to properly communicate it before it's done, and therefore not being able to build as a team. If all not working to the same vision, a team-built layout is a recipe for disaster.
I think that's true even if you're building a solo layout. I mean, having a vision is one thing. Being able to articulate that vision even to yourself from what you see in your mind to what's actually buildable.
Yeah, Professor's next comment was MR, which I think Small Railroad Magazine, used to have a tagline, make only new mistakes.
Yeah, was that Andy Sparandio? I think that used to be one of his. And
Is that it?
I could be wrong about that, and I've had him on my mind here lately since he just recently passed. And I was a big Andy Sparandio fan. Speaking of wiring, he did a really unique thing. He used to use a solid core wire and drill a little hole right beside the rail and bend the wire to make it look like a spike, and then run it down through and solder it to the rail. And his feeder wires looked like a rail spike.
Wasn't that cool?
Man, he was
I
such
love
a smart guy.
I love it. I love it.
Everything that man did.
Yeah. Professor Sherry is 3-rail. Is that right, Sherry?
Yeah.
Oh, scale 3-rail.
Yeah, that's the tubing. I've got the tubing track. I don't have the fancy guard grade $9 a piece. Not happening.
It's so expensive.
Oh, there was Professor. Of course, this is probably the reason why he's a professor anyway. A mistake is only a mistake the second time. The first time was a learning experience.
Very true.
I still got a bunch of both of those. Man.
Yeah.
We're only human.
Yeah.
I designed this layout to let me make mistakes. I've told everybody, every time I've been talking about my crazy ways I do some stuff, I've told everybody this is a big experiment, and I expect as many failures as successes, and they don't hurt my feelings. Not at all. I am totally wild with experimenting with different ideas. It's fun.
You got anything you want to bring up as a topic, Sherry? Not to put you on the spot, but
Yeah. Good. Actually, Andy talking about how he attaches his feeder wires. Has anybody had any luck trying to solder wire to this tubular track?
Yeah.
I've tried a couple times and I can't seem to get it to hold.
I've done it.
Solder temporarily, but not long enough. You know, and if you bump the track, it just pops.
Yeah, you're getting cold solder joints, and you're getting stuff in there, and it takes one of two ways: a lot of heat, and fast. The trick to soldering is normally speed, heat and speed, but mostly speed. If it does not solder quickly, and you're in and out, then you don't have enough heat, and the solder won't work. If you had the money to buy the tool, a resistance soldering iron, is absolutely what you want for G scale, or O scale, or 3 rail. But you can still do it with a good soldering iron. It's just got to get hot.
Also, you might want to look at the flux you use, and a lot of people like the ruby fluid.
Yeah, man. Swear by Ruby Red.
Yeah, I'll have to check into that. Like I said, I bought new flux, new solder. We've got a decent soldering, gun, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And I can do the HO without a problem. It'll do that in a heartbeat and move, right on along. But the tubular stuff.
Well, HO track, there's just not a lot of material there as far as metal, so it doesn't absorb the heat real quick. With that tubular stuff, it absorbs the heat so quick. It's also, I think it's aluminum.
Yes.
I have soldered to it before. Years ago, I helped build a 3-rail layout for a guy, and I soldered wires to the rail. I soldered it from underneath. I don't tend to use flux when I'm soldering to track. I like my solder joints to be neater than flux allows for. I mean, I definitely use flux when I'm soldering electrical joints on circuit boards.
Yeah.
But on track, I don't tend to use flux.
No, I usually don't too much either, especially on the 3-wheel, because like I said, have a hard time getting it to stick.
Yeah, flux just spreads your heat out a little bit. It's supposed to do that, but what you might want to get is one of those old soldering guns that looks like a gun, and what you need is wattage. So I use a 30-watt iron for about everything I do. I've got a really nice one with a rheostat on it that I use for circuit board work, but for track work, I like just a small 30-watt iron. But if you would get like a 90-watt gun that makes a humming noise when you pull the trigger on it.
Yeah.
Hey,
How about
Andy?
buffing the track up before you do it so the solder has something to grip onto, like with a file or something?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, trust me, I tried all that. It was driving me crazy.
Another trick.
Well, I know with that brass G gauge rail, I had to turn my iron up to 40 watts and hold it there for quite a while.
That's where you need a resistant soldering iron. Another trick I use is I use that tacky material, and I actually mentioned that in my little video, but it's meant to ball up and stick behind posters and stick on
Yeah,
walls.
it's poster putty. I've got a lot of that. I use it for everything.
I do too. That stuff's awesome. But I use it when I'm soldering a lot to hold materials in place. But if you'll put it on each side of your solder joint, it will keep the heat from spreading out as much. It won't. It may not help enough, but it will kind of keep it focused.
Andy?
Yes, sir.
Two things. One thing, all these YouTube videos I see, everybody adds flux. Now, I've been soldering since I was a kid, and there's flux in the solder. I never had to add any additional.
Yep.
The other thing was, I worked at an electronics manufacturer years ago before we moved here from Chicago, and we were soldering to aluminum, an aluminum bracket.
Yeah.
And they had one of those big old, I guess in the old days, electricians used soldering iron.
Yeah.
But they're really big.
I tell you,
I don't
when I
know
was soldering G scale, I'd use a torch. I'd sweat it like I was doing brass plumbing.
Yeah.
I think.
Because I had always heard you couldn't solder or do aluminum, but this thing you could. It worked.
Yeah, you can get it to it. It's just it requires some trickery. Now, like I said, a resistant soldering iron would be the trick for that. And I'm going to scratch build some brass components. We'll scratch build my signal masts, and they're going to be scratch built out of brass. And I'm going to buy a resistance iron for that. And that's really a great trick for doing it. And I agree, solder has flux in it. Everybody wants to flux everything. When I'm doing circuit board work, I do use flux to help keep the heat and the solder in a specific spot. If you put a little dot of flux there, the solder will stay where that flux is. But when I'm soldering rail or when I'm soldering, I do not use flux, not at all. I think it makes it messy.
And I hope they're not using acid core flux either.
No, because that'll eat through. I can't. I'm sure there are reasons to use that.
Well, all flux is acid based. I mean, That's what flux is. The acid eats the whatever the layer of dirt or whatever it is that's on the material. It's just some flux is lower in acid than others, but all flux is supposed to you have to wash it off.
See, that's the problem, because a lot of people decide to go ahead not to use flux on soldering up their rails and stuff. I myself, I am a firm believer in using flux on all my rail joints, every single bit of it. You don't need a lot.
No.
But the one thing that I do before ever even thinking about installing any rail is I take all my rail, whether if it's flex track, regular pieces of rail, whatever, I take it right straight to the bathtub and wash it with Dawn dish soap. All this rail is, when it comes out of the manufacturing, there's still oils and stuff on there.
Yeah, they
And a lot of times when you go to solder it, you're trying to heat up all them oils and stuff, so it's all impurities that are there. So even if you don't wash it, you can still solder it by using a good flux on there.
But if you don't wash it,
Clean it off first with alcohol.
yeah, I used a nitrate alcohol on mine too because I paint the rail, and the weathering paint does not stick worth a darn if you don't. And I used a nitrate alcohol for it because it's easy to work with and it eats any of that stuff away. And they have to. They lubricate that rail so they can roll it. So it has to be oiled up.
I got a comment here from Big Bill to Troy. Troy's layout is off the chart. That is a fast Bill. Great job, Troy.
Amen, Troy.
Yeah, man.
Thanks,
Watch his head just puffing up just a little bit.
Yeah.
I guess this is directed to you, Andy. It says N&W or CN question mark. That's from the Strasbourg family.
Well, I'm an N&W guy, no question about it. I mean, my logo is, and I'm an absolute lover of the Norfolk and Western. I have very unusual feelings about the Canadian National right now, since they're just about in a takeover bid of the Norfolk Southern. That's a really controversial thing going on right now. But I fell in love. I mean, I love all the Appalachian railroads pretty much. I love mountain railroading, even Colorado railroading. Mountain railroading. I love humans using machines and building machines and inventing machines to battle against nature. I love that stuff. It just fascinates me. These big, huge, articulated locomotives meant to pull 100,000 tons up a mountain pass. That's I just love that. And a steam locomotive does it for me because you can see everything move. So I'm a big fan of heavy, articulated steam locomotives. The N&W had the best, in my opinion.
Yeah, I got a couple of comments here. Rails and Ales, he was on the last live show. Just want to say hey to everyone.
Hey, buddy.
Cheers, Rails and Ales.
How's the ale?
Yeah. Let's see here. I got one here from David. Yeah. This is known for, I guess, Sherry, you might want to look at this. Normally, you would be soldering HO track with a 25 to 40 watt iron to solder the rail she speaks of. I would be looking at something in the 500 watt range.
Yeah, a lot. I think 90.
Big.
I think 90 would do it. I used to have a Craftsman gun that was 90 watts, and I think I could have soldered a piece of wire to a car as it drove by. That sucker was impressive. But
you see that? That's what I'm using, Andy.
I got it. All right,
Yeah.
we got to get more then.
Curtis agrees with that. He's a retired welder, and he said, it takes a lot more heat to work with it. But, there is a point there. Once you get too much heat, you're going to start melting the aluminum. So.
Right. I mean, and I just hate these Lionel track clips that they use for power. There's no way to hide them because they're so big. And I was kind of like, I'd love to, solder the leads right to the track like you can with HO, but I don't think it's going to happen with the Lionel without, serious misgivings.
What about screwing into the bottom of the rail, putting an actual screw in the bottom and feeding the wire to the screw?
Yeah, that might, never thought of that.
I've done that with G.
Like a ground connection. Only one for power and one for the...
we drilled and tapped a hole right at the bottom of the rail, run it up, twisted a wire around the screw, put a washer on it, locked it down. That's how we run wire to a indoor G-scale railroad I did years ago.
Yeah, and it would work because the bottom of that tubular track's got that
Hollow gap in it, or that seam.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I soldered the Lionel track on that layout I built for a hobby shop years ago, and I don't remember how I done it. It was a few days ago, 20 years ago-ish.
And I think it's different track because some of the older track will do it, but the stuff I'm buying now, it just is having fits. So I was just trying to think of an easier way to not use them Lionel power clips.
Yeah, I wouldn't use them either. You got to get a gun with a whole lot of heat, or I like the screw. The idea of using a screw.
Well, yeah, because I only need a power feed probably in 2 places, maybe 3, because the layout's not that big.
Well, I put feeder, an HO scale, and with DCC, and with signaling. Some of the things that we do on our railroads, I have to put a lot of feeders on mine. And I overdo it because I don't use rail joiners, so I have to feed every section of track. And if it's 18 inches or larger, I put 2 feeders on it. Anything worth doing is worth overdoing. So whatever you do, if you think you need 2, you probably need 4. Overdo it a little bit.
Yeah, well, and I ran a big main bus under there with the 16 gauge, so
yep.
I got the wire there to do it. I just got to figure out how to get it onto the track.
Yeah.
This is real fast, and we'll get right back to the soldering. I got 2 here. One from the professor for Troy, so that's why Troy's rail smells so good. Washing it in Dawn.
Yeah,
so,
need the bath.
Let's see.
A lot of progress.
Impressive progress.
Yeah.
This is from Ken. He's a new fella. He was in a hangout last night. How you doing, Ken? No question. Just wanted to tell you all hi and to say I'm learning a lot from the soldering discussion. Let's see. Professor said, yeah, you know you got a good soldering iron when you pull the trigger and the lights dim in the house. That's one of his past comments.
That's what you need. It's one of those. That old iron I used to have, man, you'd turn it on and it hummed. I mean, it made an obvious noise when it was on. It was stout.
Yeah, you knew it was on.
Yeah, another one from the professor. You can solder to aluminum in the same way you can make a brick fly. Put enough heat thrust behind it, and it'll happen.
Yeah. What Space Shuttle is, or was, basically a big brick.
Yeah. So you might want to try the screw under the rail
I like
there.
that idea, actually, and that's pretty easy to do. So.
But, you know, I mean, ruby fluid seems to work real well. I mean, I've watched Troy and several others when they're soldering, and they flash a hole that ruby fluid, and I got some too, and have used a little bit of it, and it seems to work really well. You know, just make sure you wash it down. Yeah, you want to clean it up after you get done and make sure it doesn't oxidize, because pretty stout acid flux.
Yeah, it will eat material, and it will eat your solder joints, and I am an absolute fanboy of that ruby red flux, but I do not use flux every time I solder, but that's the joy of these hangouts. You get different opinions about it. And I went to school for electronics. My degree's in electrical engineering, and there are certain applications where they trained us to use flux and certain that they didn't. But you know, they trained the Air Force different from the Navy, and so there's not a right answer. The only right answer is, did it work for you? That it was the right answer.
I bought some liquid solder tonight. I'm going to give it a try.
Oh yeah, that you put on with a little micro brush.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it'll work. I'll just try it a couple places.
Well, I'd really love it if you'd come in here and tell us, because I'm curious enough to buy some. I have taken solder and cut it into little bitty pieces about an 1/8 inch long and held it on there with tweezers and soldered. I've done that before. But
Yeah, do you put heat on it? Once you paint that solder on, do you put any heat on it, or you just paint it on and let it dry? Your white.
You mean the liquid or the...
Yeah.
I haven't tried it yet. I just bought it tonight. I'm going to try it probably tomorrow night.
Oh, I didn't know if you read the instructions or not.
Oh,
you gotta come tell us about it, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Looks pretty good,
Sherry Professor's got another one for you. He must
Yeah,
like you.
I see that.
He likes you tonight. This sounds exactly.
Well,
Okay,
it's the
well,
only
let's start.
thing I've stumbled across that I'm having trouble with. I mean, I can do the wiring, I can do the soldering, I can do the track laying, I can get this stuff to work and run, but I cannot get the stupid wire to solder to this 3-rail.
Yeah.
And I hate them
Oh,
track clips.
there's your problem right there, Sherry.
Yep.
Hey,
If
is
you're doing
yours
a
use
stupid
those?
wire, if you're doing a stupid wire, you got to put it on a stupid rail. Otherwise, it don't stick.
With a stupid soldering iron. Does yours use those little pins that pins the track together, as opposed to rail joiners? It uses kind of a pin that goes in the hollow.
Yeah, it's got the pins inserted in between each track piece.
Yeah, you might even be able to solder to the pin. A nice. I mean, it'd have to be a very meticulous solder joint, so the track would still go tight. But I like the. I'm pretty fond of the screw idea now that I've thought about it, and I'm telling you that I did that for G
Well,
scale.
and that'll work because I'm doing all the balsa rail ties to go underneath it to try and make it look a little more like track and a little less like the tubular stuff, which I can then blend it in when it's ballasted that you're not really going to see it from underneath.
Oh, very good. That looks so much better if you'll put ties under it. It's
Oh, yeah,
all
that's what I'm doing now is painting, I don't know, my last 500 of them. I'm like, man.
Andy, I like your idea of the screw, though. Really tiny little screw.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think on
it don't
G
take
scale,
much.
we could not, and I soldered the Lionel track for the same hobby shop. We built demo layouts in N, HO, Lionel, O scale, and G scale. I soldered to the Lionel, and I just don't remember exactly what I'd done. I'm pretty sure I used that big Craftsman gun. But I don't remember what I did to make it work, but I did solder, and it lasted for the many years before they went out of business, I guess. But the G scale, I could not get that brass track to solder. I could not get it to solder at all, period. So we ended up drilling and tapping the bottom of the rails, put a little screw in there with a washer on it so it would compact down against the wire. And again, it was just a big old loop about 20 feet long by something wide with a passing siding on it, and it worked for many years.
Got a break here. Phil McCallum in Australia. Hey, Phil. He says, hi, my mates. Hope you're all well. I think we are there, Phil. Hope you're doing well, too. Big Bill. Dude, are you there?
I'm here.
All right. Bill wants to know if we're going to be at the Sunday meeting. What's for dinner before the meeting? I sent an email, Bill. I'll let you know I was going to be there. You going to be there, dude?
Yeah, I'm going to be there. You guys will be done with dinner, but, well, I don't know. Some of you people eat late, I guess.
Well, it's Sunday night, so you're not at work.
No, I know that, but by the time the meetings come around, that's about my supper time.
Yeah.
So I thought that's what you were talking about. What's for dinner?
No, I was asking Bill what's for dinner before the meeting.
Oh.
He called the meeting, so he's got to do supper.
Okay, Professor, I got another one for you. I was looking at that. That's the 027 track. I can solder power to that. Been there, done that. Got rid of the 027, went to the solid O gauge, which is what I'm having trouble with now. Because what they did is that you solder to the bottom of underneath side, which it will do it with the 027, but it won't do it with the O gauge for whatever stupid reason. I'm thinking maybe because 027 was made here, and then everything's got shipped overseas pretty much. Different metal.
Well,
No
so
idea.
how wide is the soldering iron tip that you're trying to use, Sherry? Are you using a pinpoint tip, or do you have like a spade tip, 1/8 inch or 13/16 of an inch wide spade tip?
Yeah, something like that. It's a pretty good sized tip on it.
Yeah, because I was going to say the wider the tip. I know when I was soldering onto that brass G scale track, I wish I even had a wider spade tip to get that heat concentrated more. But
Did you solder it?
well, yeah, I soldered all those feeders on that G scale track.
Does that work? How'd you do it then? Because that's what she needs. Then you'll know what she needs to do.
Well, I just took a file to the bottom of the G scale, or to that copper or that brass, and filed it down good, and put about a half a gallon of flux on it, and stuck that iron on there, and just waited and waited and waited and waited, and I tested a little bit of a solder, a little bit every once in a while, and as soon as it started taking the solder, I was good to go. You know.
Yeah, and the brass is a little, because I noticed that with my old HO stuff, the brass takes a little longer, which I can still do that, but this.
Brass takes a lot more heat to solder to.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and you know, G scale rail, solid brass G scale rail. I mean, that's
Those are big
a
rails.
pretty big heat sink, you know.
Yeah,
Back
those are
in
big
the old
rails.
days, in the 70s and 80s, they used a lot of plumbing in the houses were brass. You know, like the fresh water pipes and stuff like that. And they had to use, and they soldered all that stuff together
With a torch.
With a torch, yeah.
They used the torch. They
Yeah,
could put a lot of heat to it. So you just need a bigger soldering iron. The nice thing about yours is it's a big enough rail that's a good enough heat sink that it's not going to hurt your ties too bad. You know.
No.
I mean,
But don't have ties. All it has is 3 little metal clips between it. So if she solders it before she puts her ties down.
yeah. Now, I know that I saw them on eBay, and I was wondering what they were, so I clicked on them, but they were wire clips, and this might be something that Barry could answer, because Barry's into that 3-rail. His is American Flyer.
Yeah, it's 2-rail, but it's still the same thing. It's high rail.
Oh, I thought it was 3-rail.
Now, it's 2-rail, but it's still the same type of track that she's using.
Okay.
It's just 2.
There is clips that you use to put a wire to the track.
Yeah, that's what she's got
That's what
right
I'm
now.
trying to eliminate. I've got them. I don't like them because they're about 2.5 inches by 1.5 inches. So they stick out either on one side of the track or the other. There's no camouflaging them.
Yeah. I would talk. God, I wish Barry was around because Barry could probably answer that question.
Yeah, he did it. He has a running layout that he surely saw.
And
Yeah, because the American Flyer would be pretty close to what I'm working with track-wise. Because
Yeah, it's
it's
a little
very
smaller,
similar.
not
It's
much.
just 2 instead of 3 rails.
yeah,
Hey, fellas and the ladies, I think Troy was on to something, starting with clean metal to begin with. No matter if you soak in your tub, use alcohol, whatever, or scrub brush, that the rail is really bone clean, that there's no oils on it, on the metal, is a big start right from the beginning.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, Philip McCollum down there in Australia, he likes to use a flux pen.
I've seen those.
It works great for him, he says.
I've never used one. I use a micro brush to
well,
apply.
isn't the ruby fluid? Can't you get the ruby fluid in a paste and a fluid, then you dab it on with the little brush? Troy?
Yes, it comes both liquid and paste.
I like the liquid, and I use a micro brush, little bitty small micro brush to apply the liquid.
Yeah.
I use both. I don't use a micro brush though for the liquid. I use a really fine needle tip.
Yep.
So I use the liquid for my rail joiners. Then I use the paste for all my feeders. And the reason why I like to use the paste is because the solder is only going to adhere where you put the flux at. So if you happen to get flux up there on the top of your rail, you can wipe it off with your hand with the paste or even a paper towel or whatever, and the solder will not adhere to the top. And even if it does, 9 times out of 10, you can just go ahead and take your fingernail and just go ahead and scrape it right off, and it'll just pop right off there because it won't actually stick to the rail.
Sherry Professor put up here, of course, Professor, there is no dumb question. Is it easier to solder to the joiner tabs rather than direct to the rails? If they could be trimmed so that they don't stick out beyond the tie edge, they may still work as a solder tab.
Lionel uses pins, and they're basically concealed inside the rail. And
Yeah, they're inside. pretty much if you leave a gap in the track, unless you got that track 100% perfect, you're going to have an issue because the pin is what keeps the track lined up.
No, no. He's talking about, you were talking about that power strip that you hook to the bottom of the rails that you're
The
talking about.
clips, yeah, it clips to the center rail and one of the outside rails. You can either put it on the inside or the outside. It don't really matter. You just want to keep them the same all the way around.
Yeah, but he was talking about, you know, would it be easier to solder to that and just clip it off so it doesn't stick out past your ties?
Oh yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, it's still awful ugly. You know, you can't put ties where it is, and it's pretty ugly.
Right.
Put ballast on top.
And it's hard to camouflage because of how they use the metal springy clips. See, and then if the spring lets go on the clip, then it comes off the track and you got no power.
Yeah,
That's how I was trying to get away from that.
You can hide them a little bit, like if you located that connector under a grade crossing where a highway crosses the road,
or put a little weird building, you know, like some kind of train thing on the side of the track, or trust me, I've been thinking of all kinds of different options to hide that thing.
Pretty controlling though on how you put your wire. It's much easier if you just put your wires where you need them and don't have to try to arrange scenery to hide it. Yeah.
Right. Well, I've got two on the back. At the back of the table where you're not really going to see, and I've got them on the outside of the track, so you can't, you know, you're not real, unless you're really lucky, you're not going to see them.
Sure.
But the ones on the front, it's kind of like, man.
I get it.
Yeah.
Just bad design. Of all the things they've done, that was a, you know, it's like, could anybody put any thought into this?
Well, they just don't try to make it look prototypical or anything. They don't even try.
Well, no, but we're constantly replacing the clips on it because all you got to do is bump it or, you know, anything, and that clip loses its spring and it doesn't want to stay on the track. So then you got to go spend another $6 for another power clip to replace it. And they're not cheap. Every time I turn around, I'm like, I want to just eliminate them and figure out. And I like your idea, Andy, with drill them a little hole and do a bottom mount.
Well, if you try that, let us know how that works. Because I like I said, I've done it with G-Scale, and I expect that it would work. That rail's hollow, so it would present a little bit of a different challenge, but I think it would work.
Well, it's got a flange that comes out both on, you know, left and right of the center tubing. So you've got a base there. You can do it. You've just got to get it the right size.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, we got Strasburg family here. They, to change the topic, but I think it'll be okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
What's your tips and tricks for a model railroad bed or a model railroad?
Oh, for roads, for making roads. I use spackle. I used to use plaster, but I build a little form most of the time out of double-sided tape, leave the top adhesive on, and I use spackle, and I color it with paint pigment. I put just a drop of black paint pigment in it to make it gray, and then I use spackle, and then I can sand it and make patches in it, and it's easy to scratch cracks in. And,
how thick are you pouring it? 'Cause if you get too thick, it's going to crack up on you.
Yeah, about an 1/8 inch. About all you really do. But the cracks, I don't mind if it does crack. For me, it's realistic for it to crack. I put it on top of styrofoam, and I put it straight on the foam, and it doesn't hurt my feelings at all if it cracks a little.
Yeah, because we got all kinds of cracks and potholes up here in our streets, let me tell you.
Yeah, I crack it on purpose. I will put the spackle down, and once it dries, I'll come in since it's got foam under it, push down real hard with my thumb in spots, and it makes that kind of spider web cracking the way that a pothole kind of starts with a big spider web of cracks. So I can recreate that. I like spackle.
And Gino, peel the paper off one side for the roads.
Yeah. I like his technique. I really like the results he had, and I meant to try his technique of using foam core. I use foam core for a whole lot of things. I just don't know how to hide the seams in the material, since you can only buy it so large if you're running a road for some distance, and doing parking lots and various. I really like his results. Let me say that. I really like his results. But with spackle, you can run it right across the track and cut the flangeways out, and it's not that I've used plaster for 20 years, and spackles. I'm using spackle here lately, and it's easier to work with the plaster, but mostly the same.
Professor Scott, comment going back to the track clips. Was just thinking that Mahler's had KD under track magnets, etc. Hiding the trim tabs would not be all that difficult, but you kind of already answered that one, Sherry.
Yeah, it's kind of the same comment. I hate those KD under track magnets, though. If you're going to do under track magnets, use the ones from Rapido.
Well, he's just talking about, if you're hiding the magnets, he's thinking it probably wouldn't be that hard to hide the clips, the tabs, and all.
Yeah. Rapido has an under track magnet, though, that's just really good. Unfortunately, I don't use KD couplers, so I can't use those, but I really like the Rapido under track. I hate the KD under track magnets, and even worse, the little magnets that goes between the rails up on top of the ties. I despise those.
There's another brand. It's called S&L Enterprises.
Who?
Make an under S&L Enterprises.
All right.
They make an under the track magnet as well. They do it in N scale and HO.
Is it electrically actuated or is it always on?
Nope, this is a magnet.
Yeah, just a magnet. The one part of the reason that I like the Rapidos so well is you turn them on and off. So when you're just running trains over it, the couplers aren't jumping around on you. I'm a real fan of the Rapido ones, but the Rapido ones are really new. I mean, they just come out with them last year. So
those ones there, you can put them all the way up underneath all the ballast and everything. They still work good.
yeah, I wouldn't have them any other way. If you couldn't completely hide them, so you didn't know they were there, I wouldn't have them.
Those ones Troy was showing, I've seen them, and I think they're one of those super magnets or neo something.
Neodymium.
Yeah, and you cover them up with a fixed magnet underneath yard tracks.
All right, let's see if I can show you guys. This is a problem with the bottom of this clip, that to cut it shorter, you lose how it locks onto the track. I don't know if my camera will pick it up.
I don't see your camera or screen share. Oh,
Hang on.
there you are.
I just got to figure out where it's at.
Yeah, I remember those
Now
things.
this locks it. So to shorten it, I lose all connection to the track.
Yeah.
And this thing's huge.
Yeah.
Can I see a piece of the track that you're talking about?
All right, yeah, hang on. Let me go grab one.
You see that link there, Johnny, Prof posted? That's that Rapido.
Yeah.
And they have turnout motors, or switch motors or point motors, depending on what country you're in. And that have an operating signal mast. I'm using I'm using servos, but I'm using just their switch stands so that you can tell they're operating. So you can tell what direction the turnout is thrown, just like the real railroad crew would, by looking at the mast post. And I'm going to use those, and they are from the Rapido Rail Crew stuff. That stuff is it's beautiful.
How do the Rapidos operate?
The Rapido.
Bus wire or
Well, the Rapido. The thing I don't like about the Rapido turnout mechanisms is they're solenoid. They're not slow motion. They flip immediately. I don't like that. But you do not have to buy the turnout mechanism, which, I mean, it has a decoder in it and everything, so it's nice and easy.
Oh.
You do not have to buy that turnout mechanism to buy their signal mast, their operating signal masts. So while I'm going to use servos to actually turn the points on my turnouts, I'm still going to use their signal masts for turnout indication.
I was getting at the uncoupler magnets you were talking about.
Oh, they are okay. They're basically like a hockey puck. They're electrical. You enable them with they can be actuated with DCC, so you can turn them on and off. They are an electromagnet inside of an enclosure that's about the size of a hockey puck, maybe a little smaller, but the shape of a hockey puck. And you drill a hole and shove them right up under the ties. And they're electromagnet, actuated, and they can be DCC controlled. So if you use KDs, I don't, but if you use KDs, that'd be a pretty awesome thing. I wish I could. That's the big disadvantage to using surgeon couplers like what I use. I love them. They're very prototypical looking, but the only way to couple or uncouple them is for a human to be standing there with a tool.
Yeah, I'm the hand of God.
Yep, that's it, man. The only way to do it. And that's the only time when someone will put their hand past the fascia of my layout is to, or touch anything, is using the sergeant coupling and uncoupling wand.
Troy, looking at all the bench work that you've gotten done embarrasses me.
It does us all, man. He's put us all to shame, man.
It's winter in northern Minnesota.
Looks like a jungle gym at his house.
Hey, swing like a monkey.
He's a man. I've said it before. He's a man on a mission. Mission from God.
Okay. Come on. This is what we got. What a mess.
I'm not getting. Oh, there we go.
Yeah. That's soul gauge.
Now, what's the bottom
When
look
the-
like?
And when it locks on, it sticks out about to there. Let's see if I can get it up.
Yeah, what's the bottom look like?
It's got the split. Let's see if I can get it up.
Yeah, where they like form it. I think you could put a screw into that seam pretty easy.
Yeah, that's why when you said that, Andy, that's the only thing I hadn't tried yet.
Yeah, maybe try to get some small self-tapping screws.
Yep.
Yeah.
So all you have to do is just drill a hole enough to get the hole started, and then where you get the screw started, and then let it tap itself in there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, because unfortunately, the way the track's made, you haven't got a lot of connection points where you're not going to ground it out.
No.
What's the end of that track look like? Is it how? I mean,
Yeah, it's hollow.
the very ends.
Yeah, it uses a pin. That
Yeah, the
like
pins are
doesn't-
on this end. Let's see if we can
Oh.
show it.
Are those metal pins?
Yes.
And you can pull
And
the
then
pins out and put them back
Yeah.
in.
And then when they go together, the pin is what, well, I got O and 027 here. But that's the difference between the O gauge and the 027 is your height difference.
Yeah, 027 used less metal. In World War II, when they rationed metal, they come out with 027. So
Yeah.
Yeah, Professor wanted to know, well, his comment was, that looks awfully like a tin plate. Is that tin plate or?
yeah.
It's new. This is an old piece of track, but everything I have is new, and it was purchased probably in the last 2 years.
They
So
call
I
it,
don't know if you'd call it tin plate. We always call the equipment tin plate.
Yeah.
I'm just
Like
wondering if you
the
couldn't
rolling
solder.
stock is. I do have metal rolling stock.
I'm
the
just
metal
wondering if you couldn't
tankers and
solder on the
box
end of
cars
one of
and-
those track pins.
Both of y'all were talking at the same time. Go ahead, Jim.
Must have a delay going on here.
Go ahead.
I just wonder if you couldn't solder to one of the end of those pins. The wire should, I mean, if you're using a small enough gauge wire, it should be hideable.
Not so much it'd be hideable, but it actually uses the pin to stabilize the track connection. So when you, if that doesn't lock in tight, you've got a real good chance as the train goes around, especially our steam engines, it will rock that track.
I got you. I got you. Thinking out loud, I guess.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a good idea, but unfortunately the pins are pretty much made out of the same thing the track is.
Yeah.
They're steel pins. That's the two most expensive pieces in the O gauge is your track clips and your track pins, and you can't do much without any of it.
Phil McCullum put up a comment here. Troy looks like Wilson, I guess from Tool Time Tim when he's over inside the layout working.
All you ever see is the head pop up.
There we go.
Head.
In for tools.
Yeah. Let's see here. Professor's got one up here. Template. In this context, it's actually a tin-derived metal. A damn hard to solder to, as Sherry is experiencing.
Yeah, and like I said, I would have to look up what Lionel actually calls it, but it is actually Lionel track. So however they make it. And like I said, the older stuff I could solder to, but this new stuff not going to happen without. And that's why I like Andy's idea of just getting a connection with a screw on the bottom of it, which I never even thought of. So
Yeah, I think the original old
And
track was
a small short screw, the point would go up into that open tubular part, so it shouldn't hurt anything.
Yeah, that wouldn't hurt anything with a screw going up there. Yeah, it won't interfere with the train.
Well, if you drill a hole, now if you just try to screw it up in there and it split the rails a little bit, it might misform the rail and cause a little bump, and I don't think that would be appealing. But if you drill a little hole, and like Jimmy said, you self-tapping screws make it a lot easier too.
oh yeah, big time.
Professor said, what about rail tie clamping area? Hide the wires under the ties.
He's probably talking about those clamps like G-scalers.
No, he's talking about just trying to slide the wire up under the metal ties. But if those are metal, it'll cause a short.
Well, one of the rails, actually all of the rails have an insulator in there.
The center one, yeah, your center rail has insulators on every piece of track bracing, and yeah, you don't want to, because I've had to replace a couple of pieces of track because they were wore out or damaged.
Yeah.
So you really got to watch that with this too.
So try and slip it between the rail and the ties. Not a feasible thing.
Maybe you could you're talking about having a compression wire fitting, which you could possibly do by sliding the wire in the rail joint. Slide a wire in there with the pin and use a compression fitting where you weren't soldering it. It was just compressed in there. I know when I just kind of temp in some track work here, I slide a little small gauge wire in the rail joiner and then slide it on the rail, and it compress fits the wire to the rail joiner.
Okay.
And for a temporary connection, just so I can get wires to a piece of track to play with it, that works fine. But for a permanent install, I much prefer having a permanent affixed wire, screw, solder, something.
Well, like I said, especially some of his steam engines here are pretty heavy because they're the bigger engines. They're not little engines.
Well, they're metal.
Yeah, and they're metal. They're old ones.
They're heavy. I mean, not a lot of HO scale stuff is. I have an HO scale locomotive that is cast metal. That bad boy is heavy, and they run great. The heavier stuff runs a lot better.
Yeah. Yeah, they run great. I mean, for some of them being 40, 50 years old, 60 years old, they run awesome. It's just got to get the track good for them.
Well, you can rebuild everything on a Lionel. I mean, I've heard guys talk about on like Model Rail Radio. There was a guy on there talking about he had found a locomotive from the 1930s. And he took it apart, put a new motor in it, put a few new wires in it, $20 worth of parts. And that locomotive, which was knocking on 100 years old, run like a champ.
Yeah. Phil, can you mute your mic, please?
I think Harry's done it to 3 of ours already.
Yeah.
but put new engines in them because they're pretty much all standard. Just depends on the size. You got like 3 or 4 different engines that fit all the trains.
Yeah, and you can buy all of those parts.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the only good thing with Lionel. Easy to fix.
And they last for absolute ever.
All right, Professor's got one for you, Andy. Haven't you ever heard the phrase temporary becomes permanent?
Yeah, people believe it all the time. But if the prof's been watching me very long, I am extremely obsessive about everything I do. So every temporary does not last long on my layout. I might stick a wire to something and run a train on it, but it won't stay that way long. And I mean, that's a trade-off with I move slowly, but everything I do is very meticulous. Intentional, I would say intentional. Yeah, he mentions Prof mentions Monterey Radio, which he's on. That's where I've seen or listened to the Prof a lot. It's on Monterey Radio, and I've been listening to Monterey Radio for a couple of years, and that is my go-to podcast, man.
Yeah,
Mike Slater from there.
Would you be able to go back and catch his show for rebuilding the 3-rail?
Yeah, they talked at length about that locomotive that was found and was in bad shape, and he rebuilt it. Everything he did they talked at length about it. It was I mean, I'm not into Lionel, and it was still a very interesting conversation they had.
I mean, could Sherry go to Mile Railroad Radio and go back and find those links?
Yeah, it's hard. You can. They have a lot of shows. They've been on the air for like 5 years or something. They have a lot of shows. I've been going back listening to the old ones, but man, there's so many.
Hey, I love a challenge.
Yeah, Monorail Radio is a must-listen to, though. And if you have a commute or spending time in a car where you listen to podcasts, there's a few really good Monorail Road podcasts. Monorail Radio is the best, but Lionel Strang has one now that's really good, A Modeler's Life, and he talks to a modeler each show. He had Miles Hill on a couple shows in a row, a few shows back, and he talks more about the modeler than about model railroading.
All right, Professor says, I got you, Andy. I approach my show layout builds with a bulletproof reliability viewpoint.
Absolutely. I say I'm an IT guy by trade, and people give me a hard time for overdoing everything in IT, but I apply the same philosophy to my model railroad as I do IT. My opinion is that technology is inherently kind of fallible. It's very unreliable. And I think that my very, very high attention to detail and obsessiveness will result in higher reliability. And I've been to a lot of model railroads that looked beautiful but did not run beautifully. And if you will spend the time to do everything you do right, obsessively right, your railroad can run as good as it looks. But you've got to be obsessive about it, meticulous about it, because we're dealing with very, very tight tolerances, especially in HO scale and N scale. The tolerances are really quite tight. So your wheel's got to be right, your turnout's got to be right, and there's not much room for error. So I'm picky, and I listen to the Prof talk about a lot of stuff on Model Rail Radio and his comments on here, and I agree with a tremendous number of things he says. I agree with most everybody on here.
Yeah. He said that the Mile Rail Radio is available on the iTunes podcast.
Yeah, that's where I get it. I just subscribe to it in the podcast app on my iPhone.
Is that the Tom Bartlett?
Tom Bartlett.
Is that the Tom Bartlett show? Yeah.
Yep. He's a rock star, man. I like Tom. Some people don't. I get it. There's opinions in the hobby press about that growl about him sometimes, but I'm a complete fanboy of his. Again, I agree with most people in the hobby. I agree with Miles Hale a whole lot of the time. I agree with Prof a whole lot of the time. I agree with Troy and Jimmy. I agree with everybody a whole lot of the time. What I think is the most interesting conversation is the things that we don't agree on. I love those conversations. I love that little bit of disagreement. And it's not an argument, just different opinions.
I still never listen, and
Go ahead, Paul.
Well, so I just started listening to. What is
Yeah,
that?
you got to go back and listen to the back shows, man. I've been listening for a while, and I went back and listened to the back catalog stuff, and it's Prof says if I agree with him, it's the beginning of the end. Well, I've been listening to monorail radio, so I know people love to disagree with you, Prof. But there's a whole lot of times that somebody disagrees with you, and I just listen and laugh. I'll agree with you a lot. Like I said, I agree with most people a lot, but I will absolutely do things my way, whether I agree with you or not. It's everything on my railroad is done the Andy way.
Yeah,
I ain't sure it's right.
we do the same, Andy.
Yeah, I ain't sure it's right, but I'm sure I done it my way, and that makes me happy.
Yeah. Hang on, Andy. Paul, what was that you
Yeah.
was trying to say?
I was saying, I just started listening to Tom Barbalet recently and Lionel String. I remember, years ago when these podcasts started, they had some names in the hobby, but they'd be 3, 4, 5 hours long. So I never got into them.
Yeah, now the podcast thing is kind of stabilized as being free, and it's a lot. There's a lot of material out there. There's several shows. I subscribe to probably 6 or 8 model railroad and railroad related podcasts, maybe a few more than that. But there's some really good ones. I can point you in the direction of a bunch of them, but if you just search railroad or model railroad or whatever on iTunes, you'll find.
Did I understand right? Barbalet sounds like he's thinking of going to video in the future. Or?
I've heard him talk about it a time or two. They do some video on Skype, I think, maybe sometimes show things. Well, I think they just share pictures and links, but I don't know that his video or that his podcast is really, really conducive to video like say ours here is. I mean, their podcasts are 5 hours long with a lot of people calling in and not showing off what they're doing like Troy is right now. They're just kind of chit-chatting.
Yeah. Hang on one second, Professor. That wasn't Paul's speakers. That's Andy. He winds up echoing every now and then. It's just off and on, Andy. I am getting an echo from you.
Oh, here, I'll refresh.
Later, guys. Have a good evening.
All right, Troy. Appreciate you coming in.
Good night, Troy.
Good night, Troy.
Night,
See you
guys.
tomorrow.
Not Troy.
Take your rest, Troy. You worked hard enough tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's making us look bad.
I haven't really done anything tonight. I just glued on a few boards. That was it.
Well, that's more boards than the rest of us have screwed down.
You can run trains right now, can't you?
No,
Not yet.
I can on my staging area, but that's it.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, from staging to helix, and that's it.
Looking forward to your progress.
He's close.
Yeah.
Yeah, looks
It's
good.
getting there.
Yeah. All right, Troy.
All right, later,
have a
guys.
good night.
Hey, buddy.
Have a good night. Paul got a comment here for you. Paul, if you think 3 hours podcast was long, you should have been there for the 24-hour anniversary show.
Oh, yeah. We divided that into like 7 or 8 shows. The 100th show anniversary.
Yeah. And the professor said Andy invokes rule number 1.
Okay, what's rule 1? What's rule 1, Prof?
I know Scotty Mason has or had one.
Yeah, he doesn't put a lot of shows out. I like it. I listen to it. Every time a new one comes out, I listen to Scotty Mason show, and it's one of the first ones that I got turned on to. And my favorite one went away. I really liked Trevor Marshall's show. That was my favorite, and I really like Trevor Marshall. I really like his modeling. I like his stuff on Trainmasters TV and the modular series he did there. I like Trevor Marshall, but I liked his show, and it was very professional and well done. I think Lionel Strang's show, A Modeler's Life, is really kind of in the spirit of Trevor Marshall's show.
I was real big years ago on the E-lists.
Yeah, me too.
And Scotty Mason started showing up, hawking whatever he was selling at the time.
Uh-huh.
I call him Spammy Mason. But to get a kick out of it, he didn't get offended.
Andy,
Yeah.
rule number 1 is my railroad. Rule number 2, if any confusion, see rule number 1.
Absolutely. And as much as I preach about how I do stuff and whatever, anybody who's talked to me on here will know I'm a big fan of do it your way, man. Whatever, if it's making you happy, I think we are really bad to forget that this is meant to be entertainment. And if it ceases to entertain you, you are doing something wrong. But if it's entertaining you, I don't care what you do. If your layout looks like Disney World, if you're entertained, right on, brother or sister.
Well, if you're doing something really wrong, you usually don't stay entertained. So that kind of goes hand in hand.
But if it entertains you, you know that, Jimmy. Me and you've disagreed or argued or debated about what to do here and there, but I've always come back to philosophy. If you're happy, if it's entertaining you and you're happy with it, right on. Now, I do things my way. No question about it. I do it my way. I'll listen to anybody's argument, and sometimes I'll adopt the philosophy of somebody. But I absolutely do it my way.
Yeah, Professor's comment is Tom is primarily a audio guy. The video is only a secondary format, and Skype struggles with too many simultaneous video streams.
It does. For audio, Skype is better than what we're using here with Google Hangouts. For audio, it really is a better platform. But video, it struggles with it, and it doesn't have the live broadcast and stuff. So.
Yeah, big raps for the Trevor and the Mall Railroad Show series.
Yeah, I love that show, man. That was my favorite. I've even went back and re-listened to some of them. I miss it, but Trevor's got busy with stuff he's doing on Trainmaster TV, and but I miss that show.
Yeah, Phil, I'm not sure if I fully understand this, but last one I promised for my mates affected by the coming snowstorm, be safe.
Oh, that's his last comment for us. He says, I ain't got to be your last comment, Phil. We love talking to you, brother. I really like your railroad you got over there, too, man.
Yeah. And Professor said a few boards equals 2.5 forest worth.
Does for Troy. Holy crap.
Yeah.
He's really, what he's done, what Troy's done is really impressive.
Yeah, and when Troy showed me the plans, I went out and got a few shares of Lowe's stock. It did spike for about a month there, and I sold it and made a quite tidy little profit.
The Prof mentioned Cat Mountain Santa Fe. I like that. That's an interesting railroad. If anybody's ever looked at that, if you want to read that, that's a cool railroad.
Dwight.
Yowza.
I'm looking at your picture avatar here. What kind of engine is that?
Okay, on the YouTube Model Builders site, there's a place where we have a lot of photos. And I put probably 20, 30 photos of my trip to an open house for a German model railroad society where it was held in a roundhouse in Germany.
Huh.
And that was one of the local switchers in the roundhouse.
Oh.
What do you mean, the one with the teeth?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little switcher. Little tiny switcher.
Oh, okay.
Thought it was pretty cool, so I put it as the logo for now.
It's a P40.
It's a small one.
Europeans, man, they have some very different ideas about railroading. Some of that equipment is so doggone small. I mean, it's like a big tractor.
Yeah.
Tractor on rails.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Andy, you and I both are using MacBooks, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, this is a Mac Mini. Sometimes
look-
I have a MacBook and a few Mac Minis.
Okay, you looked a little blurred. Am I blurred?
Yeah.
Yeah, mine's probably my bandwidth. We got a bad snowstorm here, really bad, and it's messing with everything. So my cable internet was kind of flipping around, so I'm on a cellular tether right now.
Okay, because Paul is razor sharp.
Really? I never had feedback on it before. I'm on a MacBook.
And I'm using a Logitech, what is this thing, Johnny? 920? C920?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a great camera, but if the bandwidth suffers, like when I'm using the cellular tether, my video feed looks horrible.
Okay, it's probably bandwidth, yeah.
Yeah. All right. You guys behave. Sherry, you're the monitor, class monitor. I got to step out for a minute, but I'll be back.
Oh, that's a bad move.
Andy did that sitting in his chair. You got to run outside to do yours, huh?
Yeah, I forgot my video feed was on, but when I come back in, I normally turn it off. But
I've been well behaved for me.
we behave around here sometimes.
John had a reminder.
Yeah, you
I
should
got a question for you guys.
have been here last night, right, Phil?
Yeah.
What was last night?
I meant to join last night. I was just bad tired. What is it? What's up, Jimmy? What you got?
Hey, I got a question for you guys. Some of you know I'm putting a couple of piers for a bay ocean scene.
Yeah.
And I want to put an engine on one of the piers, or an engine that can go onto the piers to push or pull cars. And I was thinking about a critter. I've just noticed these critters. They call these real short engines critters.
Yeah, 44 ton.
Yeah, maybe even less or something. The way I look at some of them. What's the era for some of these? I mean, are they using these in the 70s, 80s, 90s, or?
Yeah, they were some of the earliest diesel electrics to come along, and some of those very early, like 30 tons or whatever, come along in the late 1930s. But in the 1970s, they were really popular in small industrial areas in the 70s. Really popular. And some of them are still in use today.
So I guess that's what my next engine purchase has to be.
Now, for most of the piers and stuff that I've seen, they normally use like a flat car to use. They call it using it as a handle, and they basically keep the locomotive on dry land and let the flat car reach out onto the pier for weight restrictions. But if it's a 44 tonner or something, man, there's no reason why it probably couldn't run out there. What's up, Bob?
Hi, Bob.
Oh, better late than never, huh?
Hey,
Oh,
guys.
Mr. Bob.
Bob had a really good diagram last night of his layout, what he's doing. It was fantastic.
Have you changed it since I seen it yet? Same one.
Same one.
Yeah, I really like what you got going on there.
Oh, it's impressive.
It is. It's a really cool plan. Considering the kind of layout he has, the around the ceiling thing, that idea of being able to pull a train out of the roundhouse and make a train up and then send it out onto a 500 or 600 foot main line. Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely aggressive.
I've told Bob before, he's the reason that I've got the model railroad I have today. He's the one who helped me sell it to my wife. I just didn't build what I showed her, but I showed my wife this little 2-inch piece of wood right around the ceiling with an N-scale train on it. When it come time to build it, I ended up building a 2-foot shelf that you have to duck under. So she said, "This don't look like what you showed me."
Well,
Talking about that last night's hangout, which is just a general hangout.
Yeah.
I got a little tickled at Sherry. Sorry, Sherry, but I'm going to tell this one.
That's fine. Go ahead. Trust me, I haven't let it go yet.
we were talking. You always hear the guys talking about trying to get more real estate and the wives saying no. Well, in Sherry's case, she's trying to get more real estate, and it's her husband saying no.
It's the same battle either way, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
When we moved into this house, the first thing I did naturally is went down in the basement. I told the wife, I said, I want this for the layout. She said, well, of course you'll have an area to put your train. I said, I'm not talking an area. I'm talking the whole friggin' basement.
Absolutely.
Oh, she said, but we need somewhere to put the washer and dryer. I said, yeah, but when I figure a way, that'll be gone too. And since then, I made a little laundry room up on the first floor. She loves it.
Yeah, she don't want to carry laundry downstairs anyway to do laundry in the doggone basement.
Yeah,
That's
so
what
it'll work.
For trains.
Hey, Sherry.
Yeah.
Any lady that can put up a wall under a load-bearing wall, I'm impressed.
Well, like I said, my dad was a carpenter by trade, so I learned how to do all that. That's why I'm laughing. I just need to send him away for the weekend, and when he comes back, it'll be done, and then he'll be like, oh,
That's what I did. I just put mine up, and she couldn't see it until it was put up. So what to do about it?
yeah, holler at me later.
Well, I started taking my shelf down yesterday.
Oh yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Well, you're serious about it.
Yeah, shelving's all gone.
All gone. Yeah.
And then the wife goes, I didn't think you were going to start that soon. So where are we going to put it? It's like, oh, well, had a little discussion. It's going to end up in the jungle room.
What you're
put the shelving back up in there.
Oh,
you need jungle sounds in the jungle room, bud.
Oh, the lion sleeps tonight. That's one.
Yeah, then.
Weem away, weem away.
Anyway, what's the name of that modeler out east with he's real big in brass and he has a huge layout? I forget his name now. But he was on one of them color tapes, and he keeps adding on to his layout, and he tells.
Lost Paul.
Yeah.
What? I'm showing a picture. I'm sharing a screen there.
Oh, he had a mini stroke.
What is that? Is that an S1, S3, something like that?
Yeah, that might be SW1200. There's a S2, S3, SW1200, SW1500, and a T series that all look pretty similar. That has the little dip at the end of the. No, hang on, I got one sample.
Between the hood and the cab, yeah.
Yeah, that little dip.
SW1, maybe.
Your internet kind of dropped out there, Paul, so we lost everything you said.
Oh.
Cool picture.
Yeah, Jim's trying to figure out what kind of engine that is, which switcher it is.
SW1.
That is, I'm pretty sure that's an SW.
David said it's SW1.
Yeah, this one does not have the dip in front of the nose. This is a 1800s. But similar thing. It has this little weird stack on it and whatever. But it, I mean, it's very simple. Huh?
I can't straight at RS1. Maybe.
Yes, RS is my favorite diesel locomotive there is. I have an RS3 in L&N library, and I really like the RS3s.
Yeah, that's why I've got this RS3 over at the store.
I just like Alcos in general. Honestly, I like the way they sound, and they sound like a combination between a tractor and a Harley Davidson to me. They just putter along, and I really like those. So I don't have a lot of diesels on my layout. The clinic can be dieselized by 1950, so I run some F7s, Jeep 7s, L&N run PAs and RS3s. So I mean, I have some diesels, but in 1950, my beloved N&W is all steam.
Yeah, David said you could tell by the battery box in front.
Okay.
Oh yeah, okay.
That's SW1.
Huh, battery box. Yeah. All right.
And Curtis wants to know what era is RS3 from.
I think it was produced from like 46 to 52 or 3, something like that. Don't quote me. RS1 is from about 1940 or 41, but RS3, I think it was started production around 45 or 46, right after the war. So in 1950, they were in pretty heavy use. I'm on 1950, so.
That's one reason why I like the Walther's catalog. You can, if you got that, Curtis, you can look in there under the engines and find the RS3. A lot of times they tell you what era that engine was built.
Yeah, sometimes. They're not
I'm looking at Wikipedia, and it says from May 1950 to August 56.
Oh, okay. All right.
And they made 1,418.
And from what month in 1950?
May.
May. Yeah. Well, that sucker would be brand new then, because I'm modeling May.
Does anybody know why they went away from these little switchers to the larger ones? What the purpose of that was? Is it just more weight to pull, or?
Mostly because they were more general purpose. So the early diesels were very specialized. They had switchers and road units and this type and that type. But slowly over time, they really adopted the GP philosophy, the general purpose, so that they could utilize locomotives in any service they needed to use them.
Any service, okay, that's what I guessed. Yeah.
Yeah. But early on, locomotives tended to be assigned to a particular type of service, and they didn't get utilized in other areas. You know, they'd be assigned to the yard and be geared accordingly. Nowadays, all locomotives are about the same.
Yeah, it says here the RS3s were built to compete with the EMD GP7s.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And eventually the GP7s won.
Oh yeah, EMD beat everybody. I love Alco, but Alco was never able to compete. I mean, the U-boats and some of the later 60s models. I used to model the 60s, and I love the U-boats from Alco, but they didn't compete. And the C420s, the 60s from Alco, I love those. And years ago, River Aussie made a C420 Alco Century locomotive that was just to die for. I mean, that sucker run as good as any Kato ever, and they're beautiful.
So the question was on the YouTube Model Builders website, the general discussion, I think it was, what's the better engine, the GPs or the General Electrics? I think that, no, SDs and the General Electrics. ST40s or General Electric versions?
Yeah.
That was a big question.
I tended to favor Alco and Baldwin, neither of which were successful past steam. Both were successful in steam eras. When it comes to EMD versus GE, in my era, I model EMD. That's what my railroads ran. That's what the Clinchfield ran. So I have some Alcos and I have some EMDs.
Curtis, by the way, said thanks for the info.
No problem. That's what Google's for.
I
went right to Google. Google,
I learned it on the internet.
And David also added to that, the RS3 was powered with a 244 prime mover that had many uses.
Issues. How many issues?
Issues.
It did, I know, and it had all kinds of issues, but so does my wife, and I still love her.
Model Railroader magazine's got plenty of issues over the years, so.
Ooh.
I know that was deep. You had to think about that one.
One thing I wanted to mention, I noticed recently that Scenic King Backdrop Company is going out of business, or has gone out. And just today, I found another company that does it, and I can't remember their name, but earlier in the day, I posted a link to it on the Facebook page. So
To a backdrop company?
Yeah, they sell backdrop, photo backdrops, and they have
Printed.
CDs or DVDs that you can print out smaller things, and billboards or whatever. They have the railroad graphics. Print them out yourself.
Yeah, I would recommend printing them yourself. I found a local print company here in town that prints our business cards and sales material when I go for a big sales presentation for me. They can print on a roll up to, well, longer than I need. I think their roll's like 100 feet of paper. They can print like 100 feet at 2 feet wide. So I'm gonna take some imagery. There's a company online that sells CDs with pictures on them. I can't think of what the name of them are right now, but and I may just go take photos and make my own, but whatever. And I'm going to take it to the local print company and just have it printed.
We talked
Yeah,
about
I
that
went
last
to
night. I'm sorry, Paul. Go ahead.
It was Paul. I went to that site. It was $8 and $9 per square foot.
Yeah.
Not linear foot, but per square foot. So it's pretty expensive backgrounds they had there.
Yeah, the local print company will print for about $2 a foot for me.
I didn't
Andy
notice
asked that last night. There's a site I was looking at. I told the guys 13 inches by 34 inches, $20. And there was lots of choices, but is that a little expensive?
Yeah. It seems pretty high. I mean, I need eventually my layout will have 4 levels, but for one level it would need 15, 45, 60, about 80 running feet of backdrops, 70 to 80 feet of running backdrops. If I have to pay that company $2 a foot, then that's $1.60 plus a little bit of my time to get the imagery right. That's not too bad. But I had trackside scenery from Joey Ricard. I love his work. Absolutely love his work. But I spec'd it out with him, and it was going to cost me about $1,000. So, and that's level.
Yeah, David had a comment. Issues was being nice. We are in mixed company.
Yeah, the Apples had issues, and that's why they didn't succeed, but I still like them. But if it comes down to it, I'm a Steam. I'm a Steam guy. I'm a Steam guy through and through. I think we gave up on Steam technology too fast. I think in this country we tend to find a new technology and forget everything that came before it. I think that the Zeppelins or hot air balloons is the way we should be shipping slow freight. I think we gave up on the propeller too soon as we invented jets. Now our cost of fuel and flying is really high. I think we gave up on steam power because we found diesels, and there's no reason why you can't have multiple technologies. And it took 50 years
Jim,
to get a diesel that had the same power as a steam locomotive.
And don't forget a slow boat to China.
Yeah.
China get that.
Well, everybody's in a hurry.
Yep.
Want to get there?
Well, we all want the latest and greatest. When something new comes out, everything gets pushed that way. And I don't think, and I love new technology. I mean, I'm a technologist and a futurist and a computer guy. I love the advancement of technology, but I don't believe that just because a new technology comes out, that it necessarily obsoletes that what come before it. You know, they can exist together. But I'm a rare breed. Most people don't think that.
Well, Phil, you there?
Yes, sir.
You know the question.
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
Yep.
Y'all go back to the community page. Phil's going to post a hangout for what we typically call the after show. So if y'all want to join in on that, you can go back to the community page and click on that link, and that'll take you into Phil's after show hangout.
It's sort of like the after party after the Oscars.
Yeah.
Yeah, with less alcohol.
The after party.
Thank you, Johnny.
Yeah.
You guys see Gino's latest pic that he posted?
Yes.
Yeah, that picture with the black backdrop.
Yeah,
Okay.
like a storm cloud or man, he is some kind of modeler.
Yeah.
He's fast.
Yeah,
too.
he in his last vlog, he was saying that the layout he's building now, he wants to make it just all night running and appear night running. And right now he's got one backdrop painted black just to see how it's going to work out as far as lighting and all goes.
Yeah.
And he took that picture and really looked good because it looks like you're still in daytime. And with that black backdrop, looks like you got a pretty ominous thunderstorm coming in.
Yeah, but his telephone poles, man, they're just
Yes.
and the little Pepsi machines, and those are just those little cardboard stamp outs that looks like, but he's a world class modeler. He really is.
Good detailing.
Yeah, man. He does everything right. Little things like the telephone poles and the insulators on the telephone poles.
Yeah.
Man after my own heart, he all those little details, he gets them right.
Yeah, Phil down in Australia, he's got a post here. I'll go ahead and put it up there because I saw that picture. Seen a U-boat loco with a model of a German U-boat replacing the train body.
Oh yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah.
I think Phil also, Phil was one that I think also posted here a few weeks back a picture of a switcher running right through a golf course.
Huh.
Showed the guys out there on the green, I think it was. You don't see that one every day.
Nope.
I don't know if it was photoshopped or not. It really didn't look like it. If it was, somebody did a really good job.
That wouldn't surprise me though, man. They run trains through all kinds of crazy places. They build golf courses around all kinds of crazy places.
That a steam engine that it was?
Huh?
Was it a steam engine?
No, it's a switcher.
So it lends to the fact that drivers on the golf course do a really good job, don't they? Drivers.
I should have thought
That-
of that.
Vain attempt at humor.
I see what you did there.
Drivers.
Y'all tune into the after show. Did the white does a comeback? I tell you what, I was a little late starting up tonight. I was doing my blonde imitation of doing everything backwards, I guess. God forgot to post this show until right at showtime. But I want to thank Bob, Phil, Paul, Jason, Dwight, Sherry, Andy. Dude was in here a little earlier. I want to thank y'all for being on the panel tonight. Appreciate it. We had some good topics to talk over. Looks like Sherry got a new idea on how to connect her feeder wires in there. I want to thank
That works.
I want to thank everybody in the Q&A, Professor, Big Bill. I'm sure he's probably gone to bed by now. Yeah, them retired people are. David, Curtis, Ales and Rails. He came in tonight. He's a new member to the community. He's, like I said, he's on the live show. I want to thank y'all for being in the Q&A. I always appreciate that. Y'all make the show just as much as the panelists make the show. So, and like I keep saying, if you've got topics, please let us know. Go to YouTubeMallBuilders.com. Let us know your topics. During the last live show, oh gosh, Terry, young fella, he's got a couple of channels of his own. Brought up some topics I want to start looking into for this show too. About locos, rolling stock. We seem not to be talking a whole lot about that.
Yeah.
About weathering locos and rolling stock. So
Yeah, somebody's got to come up with a subject because we ain't never got nothing to talk about.
Hey, excuse me, Johnny. We didn't hear from Jason tonight.
Yeah, we did.
He's sitting there, but I don't.
He's shy.
Yeah, no. Jason is a person of very few words. You know, he's kind of like the, oh, shucks, I just had it in my head and it took off. He's kind of like E.F. Hutton. When he does speak, we all listen.
Yeah.
But, oh, it just made it up to Michigan on that one, huh?
Slower internet.
Be careful, we'll keep sending more snow your guys' way.
I thought you'd have one of your brothers come down knocking on my door. That's one of Jim's favorite sayings. You know, we kind of start ragging on him a little bit, and he goes, "Yeah, look out! I'll come knock on your door." But let's see if I can do this right for a change. Get this up here going.
Good show, Johnny. I enjoyed everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Well, y'all the ones that make the show. I just sit here and moderate it and try and keep it going. And this thing's being a little slow.
Like herding cats, right?
Yeah.
You guys all come to the after show. I'm off over there.
All right. Also, I'm going to talk with the boss man. He told me how to do it. The show is recorded, so it will be on the YouTube channel. Down in the bottom, just below the video part of it, there's a description box. And what I've been doing is copying the internet links that get posted in the Q&A by various people on information while we're talking about stuff in the show here. I've been copying those down, and I'm going to start putting those in the description box.
Cool.
So when you view the video, you can go click on the links and explore those more in depth if you would like. But well, just say keep checking in on the YouTubeModelBuilders.com website for all the latest news and info on the Tuesday night presentations, the e-magazine, and the live show schedules. The live show is once every month. We try to hold it every third Saturday, so we had one last Saturday. And the e-mag came out too last weekend, and that's another good issue with JD and his team. Live show schedules, e-mag, yeah. All right, the live show is once every month, like I just said. The e-magazine is monthly. The Tuesday night presentations have changed. We're not doing those every week now. We're doing those every other week. Just had one this week, so next week everybody gets off. And that was Bill and Mike doing their tech talk on this week was JMRI. We also got Bill, the track planner. He was here this month. Talk about track plans on Tuesday night. February is going to be Miles Hale, and his presentations. He's going to do a layout tour on each one of his presentations. There'll be a different layout. Somewhere's right around him, or somewhere's in the country where he's going to do a show, train show, whatever. He's going to go present somebody's layout, show it off, and talk to those, interview type, I believe. That'll be a really good show. Give you a chance to see what people are doing all around. So just remember, Tuesday night hangouts are every other week now, so don't get confused. Of course, Thursday night hangouts are still going to be every Thursday. They don't give me a day off. I'm a low man on totem
You just
pole.
gotta make sure you're on time, right? I kept looking and looking. I'm like, man, I hope the weather didn't shut them down.
Yeah, like I said, I was kind of having a blonde moment tonight.
Fine. I kept looking.
Yeah. Well, every now and then it'll happen. I do try to get them off on time. We're sitting there talking, and Phil goes, "You know, you never posted the live show." I went, "Oh man,
Yeah.
glad to go get that posted." But you can go to the website, sign up for the email notification when it comes out. That is a PDF, so you can download that on your computer, laptop, tablet, phone. Read it anywhere at any time. You'll get emailed a notification for that. And I want to thank everybody for participating in tonight's hangout, both the panelists and the viewers. And with that said, like it says on my logo at Southeast Rails, happy rails to you.
Sleep well.
So, good night all. And we'll see you
Good night,
next week.
everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.